Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. I'm Daichi Tanabe from Regional Diplomacy Division of the Shizuoka Prefecture Office. In this video, I'm going to interview Mr. Masataka Yui. And if you missed the first video, don't forget to watch it. And this time, Mr. Yui is gonna tell us all about his experiences in the US. So you went to Macalester College, which is a liberal arts college in Minnesota.
Yes.
What kind of classes did you take?
My major was economics.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the classes were of course about economics, such as financial accounting or econometrics. But as a liberal arts college, I had to take a lot of diverse and different classes, such as music classes or environmental studies, politics, and so on.
Okay, so you mentioned that of course you have to take econ classes because
Right.
that's your major, but you have to take music, environmental studies. Are those requirement classes?
I would say they are technically required because you have to take certain number of classes from the different fields.
Okay.
And by fields, I mean social science, art and music, science, etc. And I had to pick some classes from each.
What did you do in your music class?
So the music class was very interesting. So it was, I think, called international music.
Okay.
And what I did was basically I had to understand and listen to all the different traditional instruments from Africa or India or South America or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to listen to it during the test, and I had to tell which instrument that was.
That's really hard.
It was.
So they're like Japanese taiko.
Yes.
Applied in your exam, and you have to write it down. Oh, this is Japanese taiko.
Correct.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
And that's for like African instruments or many other instruments as well.
And that's part of the requirement class.
That was not necessarily the only class I could choose from, but I chose that class from the set of available options.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Interesting. So you mentioned about so many different classes. Were there lots of discussions, homeworks, papers for your classes?
Yes. I think everyone have heard about how difficult graduating from the colleges in the US will be, and yes, it was not easy, and because there were a lot of requirements. So I would explain by separating outside of the classroom and inside the classroom. So outside the classroom, this is more important, honestly. It's all about preparation and reviewing. So you have to do the reading for the next classes, sometimes do problem sets, or sometimes write papers. And if you don't do it, you won't understand what other students are talking about in the class. So this is very important.
So without preparation, and you go to class, you sit and you're like, what is going on?
Right. And if you don't say anything, if you don't contribute to the classes, then you will never get good grades.
Okay. So as an international student, I think you have to maintain certain level of GPA.
Yes. In my class, in my school, I wasn't necessarily just for international students, but there was definitely a certain bar for the grades to get credits. And what was difficult as an international student was I couldn't bring any university credits when I entered to universities. And other students, American students, they could take classes called AP in high school, and they could bring many credits to the US.
In order to meet full graduation.
exactly.
Oh,
So they had an advantage
Okay.
of maybe failing some classes, but I couldn't fail any single class to graduate with the scholarship.
so you have to kind of, work really hard on your preparation before each class.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
So you mentioned that you are in economics major. What kind of classes did you take?
Yes. So some of the classes I took were, for example, the basic, principles of economics, micro and macroeconomics, econometrics, etc. But I think what was quite interesting was the class I took. It was sports economics.
Sports economics.
Yes.
Can you describe it?
Sure. So it was offered only like every 2 years, and basically all the athletes who wanted to study econ, they took the class, and it was interesting in the sense that we analyze or try to understand the sports industry, especially of the United States, which is the biggest
Right.
In the world, from economics point of view. And some of the researches I did, I'll give you just one example, was to analyze the performance of a soccer team or football team
Mm-hmm.
against their stock price on the stock exchange.
Okay.
So whether if they win,
Mhm.
if the company's stock go up or
Mhm.
go down. So that kind of analysis was really interesting.
I see. So through those classes, which of your skills could you improve?
I would say two very important skills. So one is critical thinking, and two is presentation. And regarding critical thinking, so there were a lot of reading and summarizing, understanding. So I had to basically use my brain all the time, full, and kind of match the speed of other students, American students who were native in English.
Right.
And regarding the presentation, there were a lot of discussion-based classes and a lot of team activities or presentations. So I had a lot of opportunity to experience that.
Okay. So I bet you went to a typical Japanese high school here, where you don't get to discuss much or speak up that much, but those classes in college, there are lots of discussions and group works, presentations, and through those classes, your skills, improve a lot, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And you also studied abroad in Madrid, Spain. Can you tell me more about it?
Yes, I didn't mention this during the question of which classes I took, but I actually took a few Spanish-related classes. And when I chose the college in the US, I actually wanted to go to a third country.
Okay.
So not Japan, not US, but the other place. And after studying Spanish and Hispanic, studies culture, I became more interested in that. And then I actually raised my hand to really go to Madrid to learn more about this.
So you started learning Spanish in the US,
That is right, in English.
in English,
Yes.
which is your second language.
Yes.
So learning third language in second
Yes.
language, that sounds really difficult. Even like learning second language in your native tongue is already really hard.
Learning Chinese in English, it might not work better because Japanese is more similar to
Right,
Chinese.
right.
But learning Spanish in English,
They're
it was
close.
actually good in the sense that they're close grammatically.
Okay.
Yes, so
Okay.
it worked.
Oh, I see. So after spending year in Spain,
I was there for about half a year.
half a year.
Yes.
Okay. Now I want to ask you about your life in the U.S. You were in soccer club, right?
Yes.
So you actually have to take all the classes, and also you have practice and games maybe for the weekend. Can you kind of describe your life?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I was on the varsity soccer team, which means the official team of the school for soccer for about 3 years, and that takes a lot of time. So the typical life will be just wake up in the morning, just go to classes from the morning till early afternoon, and then I go to practice from afternoon until night. And after that, I do all the homework, outside class, all the work, and I sleep. That's basically Monday till Friday.
What about weekend?
And on weekend, if I was on season for soccer, I had to travel to play against other schools. So sometimes the full day was taken for soccer, and then another day, at least half a day was for studying. So in a week, if I was on season, maybe I had only like Friday night and maybe Saturday night for fun. And then the other time it was all like studying or soccer. Yes.
So you have to travel to different state?
In my case, I only traveled to I think Iowa, but
okay, which is like how many hours of?
That was 2 or 3 hours.
Oh.
So that was the max in my case.
But still kind of really busy
Right.
schedule. Okay. Did you live on campus or off campus?
I lived on campus for 2 years, and then I lived off campus for 2 years. 2 years of living on campus for the first 2 years was the mandatory.
Okay.
So I did that.
Which did you prefer, living on campus or off campus?
Honestly, I enjoyed both, but I enjoyed off campus more because I had more freedom of choosing food, what to eat, because I could when I was on campus I had to eat at the cafeteria.
Okay.
It wasn't terrible, but
you could really choose what you want to eat.
Right.
So living off campus, so you lived in an apartment?
I shared a house with 3 other students, and it was just fun, living with people from like Thailand or Singapore, a different country, to live together.
Okay, thank you. So in this video we talked about your college life in America, and in the next video we will focus on after graduation. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.